Hello dear viewers, this is an extremely overpowered build, okay? You don't have to tell me that in the comments, I know. It uses chaos and absorb health enchanted Skyrim swords, so of course it's overpowered. It will break your game and call your names, and then you will probably have to play on legendary. Sorry, but I had to. I wanted to make a build inspired by the Night King from the Game of Thrones universe, and that character is rather OP. As far as the mods go, we will need Summermyst and Live Another Life to start as a vampire. It should be quite easy to make an unmodded version of this one without losing too much of the core gameplay though. Anyway, the OP sword and the ritual stone stored in Ethereal Crown are the two hallmarks of the build, creating a super powerful fighter and a super powerful necromancer. Let's start with the backstory before we go through all the munchkinism. You hardly remember your life, your actual life. You were turned thousands of years ago by a powerful vampire lord. You went into hiding in the tombs and ancient temples of Skyrim ever since, walking among the Draugr. They seemed fascinating to you, undead like you, yet very different, conscious like you, yet not fully conscious. You learned their ways and came to think of them as your children. In the land of Skyrim, even the dead can die. One day, a group of mercenaries from the outside came into your home and slaughtered your children. The time of weeping and suffering is long gone for you, but you can't help but think that these murderers would be better off if they were your children, so you will go after them and turn them into your children. And then you will turn their friends, and their neighbors, and their enemies, until all the people of Skyrim join your family. Alright, let's go through all the OP stuff. Well, first the attribute spread, which is actually not so OP and pretty obvious. 1 point of stamina and 1 point of magicka for every 2 points of health. After reaching 150 in magicka, you can safely go for 2 health per 1 stamina and forgo the magicka entirely. We will use 2 standing stones, the Atronach and the ritual, and needless to say, the ritual should be stored in the Ethereal Crown. Well, maybe it actually does need some explanation, so in case you don't know, if you have the vanilla ritual stone in the crown, you can take it off and on and regain the daily power, resurrecting everything in sight. It's a game-breaking practice of becoming a godlike necromancer, because with no cost of magicka, you can have an undead army pretty much forever. Fast travel can be annoying with that though, because the corpses will often be left behind as the power's timer runs out. But that's fine, you are also a very powerful warrior, so you can slay a few peeps, and in no time you can have another army. To add insult to injury, we will also use the Atronach stone, powered by the Necromage perk and vampirism, just so we don't have to worry too much about legendary difficulty master wizards. I had a hard time deciding on the race. I went with the Nord because it gives me a fear power from the day one, and I wanted him to put fear in the hearts of his enemies. Also, Vampire's Frost Resistance paired with the Nord's Frost Resistance gives me 1 enchantment slot I'd have to otherwise use for said resistance. Nevertheless, a high elf might be a splendid idea too. The height of them will fit the theme. The magicka boost will mean you can use your illusion spells more often. And now for the skills, where my shameless power gaming shows the most. Of course we will take enchanting very seriously, take everything here other than the Soul Siphon and Soul Squeezer. Fire, Frost and Storm enchanter perks will benefit your Chaos enchantment, and since said enchantment has the Frost element, it will be also buffed when placed on your Stalrim Greatsword. With some grinding and paid training, you should also increase the the destruction skill, so that you can get at least one rank of augmented frost, flames and shock, so your chaos enchantment gets even stronger. Because destruction spells aren't really that useful to the overall playstyle, you may have a hard time getting the second rank of those, but if you have the patience and the time, go for it too. Then of course, as an overpowered vampire, you must not forget about the restoration skill, mainly the Necromage perk. Remember to unlock the Necromage as soon as you can to take all the crazy benefits. So for example, the Necromage will increase the effectiveness of the enchantments placed on the armor pieces, which in our case is borderline absurd, as we will eventually have everything double enchanted. Fortifying two-handed will be of great utility, for instance. The maximum level of zombies raised with the ritual power will be increased, as well as the spell absorption chance of the Atronach Stone. Then of course we need illusion spells to terrify the living and buff the dead. Take the cost-reducing perks up to Adept, Hypnotic Gaze, Aspect of Terror, Animage, Kindred Mage, Quiet Casting and Master of the Mind. Master of the Mind means you can use the Courage spells on your undead minions, so it's pretty important. Pretty much so. Dual casting perk will also help, it's always good to have it in the illusion tree. For the more direct hack and slash, you will need the two-handed skill, where you should take all the ranks of the barbarian and then go up all the way to the sweep perk, which will be very useful with our insanely high absorb health enchantment. Sometimes you can absorb 60 points of health from 3 enemies at once. Devastating Blow, however, might be annoying, because decapitated corpses cannot be raised. On the other hand, you can't decapitate the Draugr, and if you want to go with the theme of the build, the Draugr army will probably be the most fitting. In heavy armor, take all the ranks of Juggernaut and then go up the left branch for conditioning. It is a low priority investment, though you can go slowly and spend a lot of stamina. It doesn't really matter as much when you have an army of Draugr or giants or vampires or whatever you like. And finally, smithing, because, you know, I like crafting. If you wish to preserve some sort of challenge, you might forego the skill entirely, but if you are a crazed power gamer like me, go for ebony smithing. Make yourself a set of 45 smithing items, check a blacksmith's elixir, and craft yourself an ungodly Stalrim armor, as well as a greatsword. Arcane smithing isn't really necessary this time, as you can just wait with enchanting your items until you are fully prepared, and you don't use any pre-enchanted weapons or armor. So that's that for the skills, and now for the items. The only unique thing you really need is the Ethereal Crown, and it should be obtained as soon as possible, as it will unlock the unholy Endless Ritual Stone trick, which should have been fixed by Bethesda a long time ago, but never was, so now Skyrim has to endure my undead invasion. Then you will make yourself the OP sword with the Chaos enchantment paired with Absorb health, with all the enchanting perks, Enchanter's Elixir, and 1 rank of Augmented Shock, Flames and Frost. Oh, and also with the Amplify Destruction Summermyst enchantment, I managed to get the Chaos damage up to 117 per hit per element, and that increased the Absorb health to 61 points per hit. You can do even worse than that, but honestly, who needs more than 60 points of absorb health? On your armor and jewelry, place the following enchantments. Fortify health and Fortify two-handed should be both used twice to increase your combat awesomeness. Resistance to fire is mandatory for a 3rd stage vampire, and resistance to shock is mandatory for everyone on legendary difficulty. You can skip the frost resistance if you are a Nord vampire. Amplify Illusion will be great for buffing your minions with Courage and Rally spells, and Amplify Destruction will improve your Chaos damage and absorb health. To make your sword even more reliable, you should place the Recharge Weapons enchantment on the gauntlet, so you never have to use soul gems for recharging. Well, technically it's almost never. In a very, very long and intense combat, you still can run out of charges, but it is a very unlikely occurrence. Finally, to offset our relatively low stamina value, we shall use the Siphon Stamina enchantment to absorb stamina from nearby enemies. You will need a few illusion spells, namely Rally and Fear. Rally will be very useful once the Master of the Mind and Necromage perks are obtained and with the Amplify Illusion enchantment on you. Fear will affect most enemies when dual casted. You should also invest in some healing spells, namely Close Wounds for yourself and Heal Undead for your minions. You could also use Marked for Death and Dismay Shouts. Dismay doesn't benefit from illusion perks, unfortunately. Why, Bethesda? Why? But since you have quite a limited magicka, an additional tool for scaring people off might be in order. Marked for Death is, well, you know, for the very rare situations when 500 points or damage or so per hit doesn't look like enough damage. You might also want to have an undead dragon at your side, so go for the Summon Du Veneer Shout. Summoning him will immediately put your undead army to sleep, but that's not a problem. You just take the crown off, put it on again, then use the ritual power and they all stand up. The dragon will stay with you afterwards. So now you have the army, the dragon and the dragon's summons. And that would be all for this one. For any one of you who wants me to do less OP builds, I'm sorry. For all of you, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, leave a comment and a like, and maybe even turn on the notifications? Question mark? We will see each other again. Bye bye.